All right, I'm gonna put this down real fast. All right, so we're just gonna begin now. Yeah, just put it halfways. All right, guys, so my name is Nick Mercado. I'm a British firefighter paramedic here at Big Bear Fire. And today we're gonna be going over fire behavior with fire and smoke flow path. All right, so this is pretty much a mimic, a replica of what we could potentially run on, right? Structure fire, a house, single family dwelling. Looks like it's multi-story. You have the bottom floor, second floor, right? But one thing we have to take into account is that nowadays houses are built with synthetic materials, hydrocarbons, as well as a lot of plastics, fake materials, not organic compounds. So things are gonna burn fast, they're gonna burn hard, and flashover is gonna be even faster than 33 minutes sometimes. According to Underwriters Laboratories, it's actually 1,110 degrees Fahrenheit when all contents in the room simultaneously burst into flames, all right? But here's a side note. This is purposely made out of OSB, oriented strand board, right? Because that's exactly what we're gonna run across in the real world on a structure fire. OSB, you're gonna find it on the walls, ceiling joist, flow joist, roof decking. You're gonna see this relatively everywhere you go on structure fires, because this is relatively very cost effective. It's cheap, it's mass produced, right? OSB. That's why we're using this today. All right, so now let's talk about a little bit about the fire. Stages of the fire. So what stage do you think this is in right now? So stages, we have the incipient, ignition, growth, fully developed, and then the decay phase, right? I would say we just lit this right now. It's kind of like contents fire, incipient phases. It hasn't truly gotten going yet, all right? So I would say this is kind of incipient, ignition, almost wanting to go into the growth phase, right? Fire phases, okay? And what is actually fire to begin with? Fire is a rapid chemical chain reaction that produces heat and light. I have light, yep. It's hot, yep. This is fire, all right? Chemical chain reaction, I mentioned chemical chain reaction.
Oh my God,
So what
Jason
the heck,
Bourne.
The first thing I think about chemical chain reaction is the fire tetrahedron, right? Simply put, it's like a table. You have 4 legs like this. You have the oxygen compounds, you have the fuel, you have the superheated elements as well. You have all 3 pillars are present, you're gonna have that rapid chemical chain reaction to produce fire. So that chemical chain reaction, we have the fuel source right there, we have the cardboard, the paper, we have the superheated elements, and we also have the oxygen that is going into this compartment. Rapid chemical chain reaction producing fire, heat and light, all right? So as well, so if we take out any of those pillars, the fire can't be a fire and a table can't be a table, right? If you take out a leg of a table, it's not a true table, it doesn't have that stability. If you take out any of those pillars, a fire cannot sustain itself, all right? So let's go ahead and just choke it a little bit. If you see me choking it just like that, you see me choking the fire, it's gonna start panicking. Right now it's panicking, it's breathing a lot faster, right? It's trying to pull all that oxygen it possibly can from the external world, external environment, into its mouth and swallow it whole. So right here, you kind of see that off-gassing. It's going up, right? Heated temperatures go up, the gases go up. If you have a vapor density less than 1, they're gonna go towards the ceiling. And we also have this bidirectional flow path right here. It's gonna get a lot more obvious as we continue in this class. Right now, you can kind of see that bidirectional flow. You have the top of the building, top of the opening, you have that exhaust coming out. You have that fresh new air coming from the bottom, that intake, fresh new oxygen, feeding that fire, all right? So the fire is very smart. It knows what it needs. It knows that it needs oxygen to continue having some fun, all right? So I'm gonna open up a little bit. So sometimes you can choke it too much and put the fire out on accident. All right, so I'm just gonna let it burn a little bit more, increase the oxygen intake. More oxygen means bigger fire, just rule of thumb, all right? Let's just cool this down real quick. All right, let's choke it. Just cut it down. All right, so you can see that exhaust, that bidirectional flow, and from here you can see that exhaust, the intake, and right in the middle, you get neutral stabilization right in the middle. It almost looks like you're inside the fire, inside the front door, and you're cutting it with the butter knife, you can see directly right through it, all right? You're gonna see that also visibility is gonna be a lot harder to see up here. And the easier it will be to see down here towards the carpet, okay? All right, so I'm just gonna close this off, and then I'm gonna open up here, this compartment, bedroom number 2. What do you think is gonna happen? First off, you're gonna see the change of direction, all right? There is no fuel in this compartment. Let me remind you, all the fuel is in here. So how the heck do we have fuel in this door, in this bedroom? All right, so it's off-gassing. It's off-gassing right now. All right, I'm also gonna take off this party wall in the middle. You're gonna see it off-gassing even more. All this box itself, the house, and even the fuels inside are going through pyrolysis, all right? That chemical breakdown from a solid substance into a gaseous form in order to ignite due to the superheated temperatures acting on that solid substance, all right? Going through pyrolysis. This box itself is going through pyrolysis right now. That off-gassing. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the fire. You're gonna see a little bit fire come back up. It's gonna perk up a little bit. You can see that bidirectional flow change direction into this room. See that the oxygen is going straight into the fire itself. It's swallowing. So we're gonna close that off just a quarter, just a little bit.
It's almost all.
And we're just gonna let it burn right here. So you can see that there's a change of direction. Fire and smoke is always going to follow where the oxygen is. It's always going to follow where the oxygen is going to be at.
281,
all right. So I'm going to close this off.
Well,
I'm going to open up this just a quarter, and you can start seeing it off gas significantly a lot more. Now you can see the obvious bidirectional flow of that fire. You can see the exhaust, the intake, that neutral plane. Right now, it's exactly doing what it has to do. It's exhausting and intaking more oxygen, okay? So now I'm gonna open up this compartment right here. You're gonna see that rapid change in direction, all right? Right here. I'm gonna close this up a little bit. Actually, I'm gonna close it up completely. I'm gonna take off this bottom story, and you're gonna see that the smoke is already going up towards here. There's no fuel in here. There's a rapid change of direction because the oxygen that's flowing inside it, and also the actual compounds of the structural members are also going through pyrolysis as well and off-gassing from themselves, all right? That chemical chain reaction is going from here, the fire room, changing directions because there's no oxygen intake on the bottom story, so it's gonna do exactly what it needs to do and find where the oxygen is. Boom, right here. This is where the oxygen is, this is where it's gonna change directions, all right? So as you can see, we could manipulate a fire just by changing the intake sources. That gives us a big rule of thumb when we're on a fire, structure fire, and we're just automatically forcing doors. We're gaining entry into a structure to do our job to actually put water on the fire. When you're forcing a door, you are actually creating a new flow path. Just keep that in mind. So you see a brand new flow path right here. Right, you can see that kind of flashed a little bit, kicked back up.
What is it actually that's catching on fire when that kicks back up?
Oh, the smoke.
And why is that?
All right, so I was gonna mention that a little bit later.
Sorry.
But the smoke is made up of three things, all right? So smoke is made up of particulates. Those are the solid suspended fuels that are off-gassed off of the solid members inside there. So the paper, the cardboard, that solid fuel, it's gonna off-gas into particulates, and those are gonna be suspended in the smoke itself, and the smoke could readily ignite just by touching a superheated environment. It's gonna ignite just like that. So the other thing besides particulates found in smoke, you're gonna have vapors, so aerosols. On top of that, you're gonna have gases, all right? You're gonna have all sorts of gases. You're gonna have carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, the silent killer, hydrogen sulfide, phosphine gases, a lot of different types of gases that you're gonna find in the fire ground that are very toxic to us, and especially synthetic materials, hydrocarbons, plastics. Those are toxic to us, and including even survivors, victims that could be potentially in the house. Those off-gas toxic chemicals that are not good. All right? So I'm gonna close this up. I'm gonna to close this one up right here.
518 Drive. Beverly Lane Road.
All right, let's talk about the duties of, let's say we got to vent this house, right? We got to vent this house because we have to pretty much depressurize this house, make it sustainable for any lives or the fire crews inside the house, and take out the seat of the fire with the ground crews having direct line of sight of that seat of the fire as well. So, so medic truck 281 arrive on scene to a structure fire. They already throw up the aerial ladder. They roof this house, and then you have the crew on the roof, the rubbish hook, the sounder, then you have the sawyer. The sounder's doing his job, sounding the structural members, finding the rafters, finding the structural members to walk on, and all of a sudden, they're doing their cuts, and they're direct, this is the key right here, they're in direct communication with the ground crews, saying, are you ready for a heat hole? Internal, ground crews, interior attack from vent, are you ready for a heat hole? Vent. They vent it, they louver it, something's not working yet, right? They louver the roof, it's not doing its fully affected job yet. What do they have to do? They gotta punch that ceiling, punch that drywall with that rubbish hook. All right, so now you can actually see it puffing out of the room. So right here you get to be in conscious effort with the ground crews, making sure that they are ready for that heat hole, ready for that louver, because if you just remember that, if you pop it without crews being ready, you could drastically change the flow path of fire and make it drastically different and a lot more challenging, maybe even deadly for crews inside. So you have to have direct communication with the crews inside, putting the water on the fire as well. So like I said, smoke is fuel, right? So if we put just a simple flame to this smoke, it'll catch on fire. If we did that. All right, let's see if we can pop this a little bit. So now you can see it's going again. It's gonna take a little bit, all right? Two of the major fire ground emergencies that could harm us drastically on the fire ground is flashover and backdraft. All right, so flashover looks like it's finally going. Flashover is when all of the contents in the room, including the carpet, the walls, the wallpaper, any type of items in the room, all reach their ignition temperature simultaneously and all burst into flames all at one time. All right, and according to Underwriter's Laboratory, that's 1,110 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, now we have the fully developed fire right here. This is the free burn stage. This is when there's copious amounts of oxygen, superheated temperatures, fueling this fire this entire time. So backdraft, what's backdraft? Another very serious fire ground emergency that could kill us, right? Very much harm us, is when oxygen is reintroduced into a superheated oxygen deficient environment, causing an explosion, all right? Causing an explosion. Some signs that we could see before backdraft happens. We gotta continuously, consciously be reading smoke, right? Yeah. Yes, sir. So some things, signs that we could look for on backdraft, right? As firefighters, we have to continuously be reading the smoke, reading the fire, reading the change of flow. So some things we can see on the windows, black smoke-tinged windows, the crackling of the wood, the crackling of the windows as well. You can see that very turbulent smoke. It looks like it's breathing, that live appearance of that smoke, that house breathing, that pushing and pulling of smoke from underneath the door, between the door seals, the eaves, just that pushing and pulling. Right here, you can see that right here. And let's see if we could crack this door right here. Hopefully we can make it flash right now, or backdraft at least. See, the oxygen is feeding itself right now. The fire is feeding the oxygen. It looks like it's gonna catch right now. Still looks. It wants to. It's getting hotter. More oxygen means more fire, right? All right?
Crack another door and see if we get
Let's increase that oxygen intake. All right, so also some things that we can see on a flashover. A flashover, some things we got to keep in mind are superheated temperatures when you just feel like this is getting way too hot. You're penciling the ceiling, you have no return of that actual hose stream of the water itself. You can see that there's a rollover, flame over going across the ceiling because all of those unburned particles that smoke on top of the ceiling, it's being ignited because it reaches its ignition temperature because of the humidity temperatures, as well as a flame directly touching it. It also bursts into flame. So rollover, flame over is an imminent sign that flashover could be actually gonna happen right now. All right. Good, it's catching right now. All right, so some things we have to keep in mind. There's an acronym that makes it a lot easier for us when reading smoke. It's called V.V.D.C, volume, velocity, density, and color. That's something that you gotta take into account all the time on a structure fire, because you have to see continuously the changes of the smoke. The smoke tells us where the fire has been, where it is going, and it also could lead us to the seat of the fire as well. Look, it's going now. So smoke tells us where the fire was, where it's going, and smoke could also lead us to the seat of the fire as well. A flame tells us where the fire is currently at, all right? So V.V.D.C. All right, so volume, velocity, density, and color.
Shut that door now.
So you have the feel. We're gonna just choke a little bit.
See if it'll flame over. There it is.
That was a backdraft right there.
Try it again.
That was a backdraft right there. This is an old school practice. Maybe you've seen on movies. On a structure fire in Hollywood, you automatically want to start breaking windows, opening doors, right? It's not a real thing that we do. Not a real thing that we do, because if you do that, you're gonna allow oxygen to go into an oxygen deficient environment that is superheated and cause it to explode, just like what we saw right there. All right. Oh, so now it's really going. Okay. I'm gonna open up the top. All right, so we're reading smoke. You're looking for volume, velocity, density, and color, right? Look at that volume right here. A lot of smoke. One really easy way to remember is a lot of smoke, a lot of contents. A lot of smoke, a lot of fuel. A little bit of smoke, a little bit of fuel, a little bit of contents, all right? So a lot of smoke, look at that. It's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of fuel in this fire right now. Yeah, see that. All right, so like we said earlier, smoke is fuel, right? Smoke has particulates, suspended solids, as well as vapors and gases, right? Very harmful. All it needs is a simple flame to ignite. Just like that. So if you think you're out of harm's way just being in the smoke on a structure fire, you're really not. So all it needs is a simple flame, or for it to reach its ignition temperature, and it'll get going. All right? Just like that. There was never fire up there. All it needed was a little bit of fire to convert itself. All right? Because the fuel is all in the smoke. So volume, a lot of fuel, a lot of smoke, a little bit of fuel, a little bit of smoke, velocity. All right, so look at that velocity right here. When it comes down to velocity, the first thing I think about is pressure. Is this structure pressurized? Or is it not pressurized? If it's pressurized, that tells me that this could be very harmful. If we open up this structure, it's gonna backdraft. It's pressurized. This looks like it's superheated. It could also flash as well. Pressurized, all right? Volume, velocity, right? It comes down to two different types of smoke: laminate smoke and turbulent smoke. So laminate smoke is kind of like that slow oozing smoke. It hasn't truly gotten going yet. But this turbulent smoke is that angry smoke, that pissed off smoke. That smoke that is pushing itself with a purpose. It looks like it's actually breathing, like it's a live piece of energy of its own, all right? All it needs is a simple flame to really get going, that turbulent smoke. And also, it tells us that auto ignition is imminent, flashover could be imminent. It's superheated, as well as full of fuels, all right? So that's volume, velocity. Second to last is gonna be density, all right? V.V.D.C, density. density comes down to how thick is the smoke. This looks pretty thick, right? I'm gonna light it just right in my face right now. All right, so this looks pretty thick, right? The thicker it is, the more fuel rich it is. The more fuel rich it is, it's with particulates, right? Look how thick this fire is because it's full of particulates. So volume, velocity, density, how dense is the smoke? If it's thin, I'm not too concerned because it's not fuel rich with suspended solids that are ready to get going. Really, dark smoke is extremely rich in solids. The darker the smoke, the hotter it is and the more richer it is as well. So last thing is color, the different shades of smoke. So in the early stages of fire, you're gonna have a white colored smoke. In the early stages, ignition phase, incipient phase, even when we put water in the fire, that water converts itself into water vapor and turns itself into white smoke as well. Organic compounds, class A fuels, woods, papers, grass, trees, those are all white colored smoke off gassing, all right? All right, so those are all different types of white smoke. Organic compounds.
Oh, check it out. Look at the backdraft.
Oh yeah. All right, so that covers white colored smoke. All right, what about black colored smoke? Black colored smoke tells us that it is superheated. Black smoke is essentially black fire because all it needs is a direct flame, or to reach its ignition temperature, it'll get going. That's a backdraft right there. All right, it'll actually get going. So the blacker the smoke, the hotter it is. It can cause spalling in concrete. It can cause deformation of metal, of steel, as well as auto ignition of black smoke as well. The blacker the smoke, the hotter it is, the more reason for it to catch going. All right? Brown smoke, yellow smoke, dirty smoke, those are all signs of flashover. All the sulfur content in the actual smoke that's off gassing. And lastly, colored smoke, like purplish smoke. Last thing is colorful smoke, purplish smoke, pinkish smoke. Those are all different types of hazmats that are off gassing in the fire itself. Different chemicals, different hazmat substances that are actually on fire to produce different colors of smoke as well. So some things to keep in mind, just to recap, just go back real fast. If you haven't listened, or if you forgot some things that I said, at least leave with some of these points that I'm about to say right now. All right? So always be conscious of the changes on a fire. It's always dynamic, it's constantly changing. So some things that can change the fire are flow path, when you're forcing a door, when you're opening a roof, when you're breaking a window on accident, interior crews putting water on the fire, as well as structural members on a house failing, flow path is also being changed as well. V.V.D.C, volume, velocity, density, and colors. Just like when we're doing a general impression on a patient, seeing are they sick or not sick, and seeing their changes throughout our call, we're also seeing the changes on the actual structural members itself and the smoke flow and the fire flow as well. Seeing the changes on an actual fire ground itself, all right? As well as having direct communication with your ground crews before you louver a door, because you can drastically change the flow path inside the house when the crews aren't even ready to put out the fire. It has to be direct correlated event the entire time. But that's pretty much what I have for you. And any questions?
Great job, thank you.
Nope.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Can we touch on the table thing again?
All right, go ahead and pull the door open.
Mm.